This week in our collective heads, wanna put an old rumor to bed. Stereotype that you've all heard, how we're all just angry video game nerds. Most of us have actual jobs, kids and families and cats and dogs, yeah. This week in our collective heads, this week in our collective heads.
Welcome to This Week in Our Collective Heads. I'm Patrick, giving you the gaming news like we do every single week. Thank you for joining in. We're live on Facebook and Twitch every single week around 8 Central or so. We got live, so sometimes it's a little after. That happens. Sometimes you got to eat. Sometimes you got to finish that episode of The Office where Jim and Pam get married. And spoilers, because that happened, and that's what happened tonight. So thank you for joining us. I've been playing one of my favorite games to come out recently this week, which actually came out last week, but it's Resident Evil. And I hope that you all, if you are a fan of Resident Evil, if you're a fan of the horror genre, this remake is amazing. I know everyone else is playing Kingdom Hearts. I'm playing a little bit, and the wife's actually playing in the other room right now, playing Kingdom Hearts, and it's great. It's exactly what I want out of a Kingdom Hearts game. But man, Resident Evil is everything that I've ever wanted in a Resident Evil game, honestly. I'm not joking. Resident Evil 2 is the best Resident Evil game. I will fight you in the streets. But Resident Evil 2 is the best Resident Evil game. And this fixed all the issues with the game, meaning really the gameplay. Because the gameplay of Resident Evil 2 did not age well. The gameplay that is really good, though, is Anthem. Honestly, one of my favorite games to have demoed ever. There are issues with the game. I had problems. I had grievances. I can air them ad nauseum. You can find other people to complain about it. I'm complaining about basically what they complained about, but let's just sum it up with this game is in early access. Online games never launch with a full product. They never launch amazing, right? This is my Anthem gameplay, by the way, that you're watching. Online service games like this, they never launch as a full product, meaning they evolve because they're online. And honestly, as much as I want it to be perfect at the gate, it wasn't perfect. There were problems, but I enjoyed what I played of it. I died a lot, as you can see there, but honestly, I had a lot of fun playing the game. It's harder than I thought it was going to be. The difficulty curve, from your regular trash enemies to the stronger enemies, there's a learning curve in that, and they want you to use your mobility of your Iron Man suit. So if you stay, and I'm sorry, I know it's called a javelin, but it's basically an Iron Man suit. If you stay on the ground and you're just kind of shooting, or maybe you found a decent position and you're sniping, you can't just do that the whole time. The enemies will find a way to get to you. Their aim is way too good. So it's very challenging, which I appreciate, but man, the learning curve on that was a lot steeper than I expected. Still had fun, still enjoyed it. Let me find my notes real quick. I'm going to undock these, so anyone who's listening to this, I apologize. But the Anthem demo was awesome. There were problems. So the problems that most people had, which most people are reporting on incorrectly, deal with login. And they've said, hey, we didn't have an issue with server capacity. The problem was everyone trying to log in at the same time. And people don't understand those are two different things. Authentication, as well as everyone logging in at the same time, you have a burst going on. That's different than just hanging out regular capacity. So there were problems with that. Also, the load times took quite a while to load, and which I hope that they fix. They help. It's online, so you've got limitations there. Respawning took way too long. I was bored with it, but anyways, the rest of it I really enjoyed. I know other people had problems, but I really appreciate that they put out a note saying, hey, here were the problems that people were having. Here's what we're doing to fix them, for the most part. And I'm looking forward to Anthem. I had fun. My first reaction was irritants, but now that I've kind of thought about it, I'm like, Monday morning basically came around, Monday afternoon, and I really wanted to play Anthem, and I couldn't because demo's over. So next demo is coming up in a couple weeks, open beta. So is it a couple weeks or this weekend? I'll check on that in just a minute. But we did get some news in regards to the Nintendo Switch successor. They're saying that it's not being currently it's not being considered. Price cuts not being considered. And let's be honest, Nintendo is making so much money that really they don't really need to cut price for this. We already had our predictions as to what was going to happen with the Nintendo Switch and what was going to happen to the new Nintendo Switch, which they were saying didn't exist, but I think it exists. I think that the new Nintendo Switch that they're going to come out with is all internal upgrades. It's basically going to be a hardware upgrade, but it'll play the games a little better, but it's going to play the same game. It's going to be the same size. It's going to be a different SKU, but seriously. Yeah, Owen's in the comments saying, sure it isn't, wink, wink. Owen calls new SKU this year. It's exactly what I was getting to. Yeah, it's going to be a new SKU. Nintendo is historically guarded when it comes to their products, which I appreciate. They don't want to tell you, we've got a new Switch coming out, the processing's better, the load time's better, the gameplay's better, it's going to be so cool. They don't want to tell you that now because they're going to release it probably in holiday. And if they tell you that now, they're going to have a bunch of people who are going to buy a Switch who are going to wait. Because if they don't have one now, then they're either saving for one or it's not that big of a deal for them. They're fine waiting another 6 months, 8 months. It's fine. That being said, if one comes out in December, I'm going to buy another one. And the one that I have, which is sitting right here, I'll still have this to use for, the wife can use it. We'll each have one because we only have one right now. I'll probably buy it because if it's an upgrade, sure, why not? She doesn't play as much handheld as I do, so I can justify that. But as a company who is so guarded when it comes to their information, they did come out saying that Metroid Prime 4 is being started again from scratch, which I felt bad when I heard that they were doing that, but I was so happy at the transparency of that, that they wouldn't just keep saying, yep, we're still working on it. I'm really glad that they gave us that update. I wish other people like Square would give regular updates like this. The development is being given to the original dev team, so I'm really happy about that. And I really like this transparency. We're in a world now, we're in an age that this information will get out one way or another. I know Nintendo and, let's be honest, Nintendo and the Japanese culture, they don't have as many leaks as we do in America. Because America, everyone wants to know stuff as quick as possible, and they don't care. Well, they'll leak it one way or another. You don't get it as much when it comes to the Japanese companies. Which I love that. I respect that about them, and I'm glad that they were transparent about this. More companies need to be transparent this way. You see Metroid Prime 3 footage here, but I'm really hoping that it comes out eventually, because if they're starting from scratch, that means they're more than likely not going to release for at least the next year, if not longer. If it comes out in a year, it's a rush job. Nintendo doesn't need a rush job. They've got other properties they can put out. I will say they do need some solid hitters this year, but I think they'll get there. It just won't be with Metroid, which is kind of unfortunate. We got some information on a Dragon Ball RPG that's in the works. And one of those things that I didn't necessarily ask for this or want this or need this. Dragon Ball has not been. Dragon Ball is one of those things I'm like, I know what that is, and I know who Goku is, and I know some of these people, but I didn't follow it very much. There were other cartoons that I was watching at the time, but at the same time, huge fan base. I love what I've seen of it. I just never dug into it, and there's this Dragon Ball has like a huge lore around it. So having that type of history, that type of property, I mean, to me, it will allow it to have longevity with this much story. So just hopefully the battles don't take an hour or so. I don't need boss battles that take that long. Sorry, that was my phone telling me to breathe. I told you, I know I don't want to breathe. I'm not breathing right now. Sorry. We did get some news also on the PlayStation PlayStation 2 terabyte hard drive. Price is not that bad. I actually have a 2 terabyte hard drive hooked up to mine already. It's a 2 terabyte. I'm double checking the price here. 2 terabyte for $89, and for a decent 2 terabyte, that's not bad. You can get ones that are cheaper, but if this is a quality quality hard drive, then that's great. I'm using a I think it's a Seagate. I can't remember. I spent just a little bit under that, but honestly, with this, I wouldn't want to cheapen out on that. I may pick up one of these because I have used it in the past. I don't have it hooked up now because I was just using it I used it for transfer, and then I used it for game storage. But then I upgraded the hard drive in my PlayStation, because you can do that if you didn't know. Honestly, I would... sorry, Owen in the comments is echoing my sentiments about Dragon Ball. He said, I didn't know I wanted it, but now I need it. Yeah, basically. The 2 terabyte hard drive, like, if you didn't know, you can upgrade your hard drive in your PlayStation. If unfortunately does require using an external drive. Plug it in, you create a backup, swap out the hard drive, put that new hard drive in, it will format itself, it will get ready, and then you can restore everything. I did that. I have a 2 terabyte hard drive in the PlayStation, and I'll probably plug this in as well, because I still come into times where I wish that I had more space, because I spend some time doing resource management and like deleting stuff. The Xbox and PlayStation, like, they fill up, so it's nice to not have to worry about memory management when the games are 40-50 gig a piece. It can add up. So if you haven't upgraded your internal hard drive, I would do that though, because it's a really good upgrade. It's nice, and yeah, like I said, it allows some ease of mind, not having to clean it up all the time, as I say that with my ridiculously messy desk. We'll look at something other than my desk then. Metro. So Metro is a great series, by the way, if you haven't played any of the Metro games. Metro Exodus has become a timed Epic exclusive. Dropped the price on this, and they did this due to the financial incentives regarding going to Epic. Epic is giving more money to their developers, so the developers are actually getting more money. The developers are getting more of a share of the product, which is great. Anytime you can cut out the middleman when it comes to the digital marketplace, I think it's a good thing. It's helpful for consumers. But honestly, this is great stuff. This is showing the push that we knew that was going to happen when it came to the Epic marketplace. The Epic marketplace, because it's better for the developers, we're going to see more and more people move towards it, which I'm happy for. We also got some news about FIFA 2018. EA stops selling FIFA currency in Belgium. And now they're doing that because of the loot laws in Belgium. A lot of European companies are getting behind these types of laws, basically making sure that they're, in my opinion, you need to have better transparency around in-game purchases, but loot boxes are gambling. I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. Loot boxes are gambling. you're buying something to have some random thing come out, and it may or may not be worth anything. That being said, I love Magic the Gathering, but I know when I spend money on Magic the Gathering cards, which you can buy digitally or physical, I know I'm going to get something out of it. And I can also resell my product. You can't do that on the digital Magic the Gathering, but if I know that I'm guaranteed X amount, and there's transparency where you're like, you're going to get X amount of rares, X amount of uncommon, X amount, whatever their structure is, I'm okay with that as long as it's not a grind fest. The problem is that kids are still developing and understanding those type of concepts, and they're still understanding the risk reward. And you've got people playing, kids playing Fortnite. My nephew plays Fortnite. He's better at Fortnite than I am. But when it comes to understanding, loot boxes or online currency, he doesn't understand the value yet because he's not old enough to fully understand that. He's learning that. It's still something that we learn as we grow older. But if you give games, and Fortnite's a bad example, I know, because Fortnite is online transactions to buy a product, to buy a in-game item. That's different. But to me, these types of systems don't need to be given out to kids. Parents should, and I've talked to multiple parents who, because they know I'm a gamer, so they talk to me, and they didn't. First of all, they need to know what their kids are doing, but they didn't know about what loot boxes were, and they didn't understand why their kid likes whatever it is, and they just want in-game currency. So they give them that as an allowance every now and then. And I'm trying to illustrate this is a good time, kind of like running a lemonade stand. I mean, I know technically you need permits, whatever, but running a lemonade stand and those kind of things when you're a child teach you about supply and demand. They teach you about teach you working, all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna get off of my rant on that, but it's really important to have these kind of laws, and I'm glad that Belgium cracked down on this. There's enough. Also, I think this is going to sting for EA because, actually, I would assume that a ton of FIFA games are sold in Europe. I was going to say Brazil, but Brazil's laws in regards to video games cost a lot in regards to their taxes, their import taxing. And Owen said in regards to video games, he said just add restrictions to the game and make it show real prices. I completely agree. Let it have a restriction. I've said that it should have a T rating. If it has loot boxes, it should have a T rating, because if you see parents do look at ratings, most of them do, and if it says T on it, then they'll go, whoa, it's rated T, you can't play it. But if they read further, it'll say, oh, this is why, loot boxes. I agree, having the real price is really important, because the way that Fortnite and other systems work is you buy V-Bucks, you spend your money on V-Bucks, and then you spend your V-Bucks on something. And because you have that exchange going on, you have a disconnect from the actual value of the object versus how much money you paid for it, because it's hard to kind of tell what that is. Similar to what happened with Xbox when Xbox Marketplace originally came out on the Xbox 360. I don't know if it was on the original Xbox, but Xbox 360, it was like $20 is 1,600 Microsoft bucks or whatever it was. So if something was 680 coins or whatever it was, it's not easy to just do that in your head and go, how many dollars is that? What am I doing? So yeah, make it show the real stuff. I would like restrictions on it. I'd even a warning on the rating, and just say loot boxes / gambling. That way the parent, just immediately grabs their attention and says, wait, what are loot boxes? If they don't know what a loot box is, they need to know. But some parents aren't as cool as we are. So Oh, well. Speaking of companies that get a lot of money from kids buying stuff on their parents' devices, Apple's getting more into the gaming business regarding they're going to be, their Apple plans on selling a gaming subscription service. Or at least that's so this is, it looks like a leak. I mean, it's talking about people who are familiar with it. But basically the idea would be you can have a subscription and it'll allow you to access certain titles. It's a Netflix for apps, for games on the iPhone. I think that's really cool because that will show, first of all, they can curate good games that are on there, and I think if you do that in a smart manner, that the cream will the cream will rise to the top. Your good games will be featured at one point or another if you have a good game. Steam does this, others do it, where if you have something that's good, it gets featured. If the game isn't that great, try again, get better. Don't be discouraged by really bad reviews. But I think that any time that a game company, first of all, subscription services are the thing. Selling a service instead of a subscription service or a service in general, instead of selling a product, is a lot easier to stomach. A small amount every month instead of a large amount every now and then. It's easier to stomach, and you end up spending more money. Some people end up spending more money that way because they know they've hooked you. So I think it's a good idea for Apple. I'm hopeful. They haven't talked about cost and everything. Like I said, this is still early stages, not full on official announcement that I've seen. But honestly, I think it's a good idea for them. They've already cornered the market when it comes to the App Store. I'm sorry, Android, but the iPhone Store and the iPhone apps are great. I think also if they're able to do this and they can snag really good developers with this, maybe get some early access if you have the subscription plan, I think it'd be really cool. Hopeful. We'll see what happens with it, though. So let us know in the comments what you thought about the news. What do you think about Apple's plan on making a subscription service? And check us every single week, Facebook Live, Twitch, and we're on YouTube later on. We should be on YouTube Live, too. Let us know in the comments if you want us to be on YouTube Live as well, and we'll see you later.
Thanks for watching This Week in Our Collective Heads. Subscribe over here and click the bell, and that way you'll know about any new videos that we put up, because we put up a lot of gameplay, a lot of stories from games and stuff like that, and gameplay is down here.
Yeah, and you got more editorials and news stuff down here. Check it out.